Is anyone worried about a hug? No. It's very, very important to understand we are humans. We are people. And people in government have forgotten that. That's what I want them to be reminded of. If anyone's scared of being on a video, we're just recording this, but it's up the back, so just keep your back to it and you'll be fine. Because that is the level of fear that's been driven in our society now. People are afraid of being on video because the government might persecute them. This is Australia. And yet that's what I heard, a lady wrapped up the back. Why are you wrapped up? Because I don't want to be seen and because I'm scared of the sun. And I don't want to make this political, but I'm wearing a cap because I forgot my hat. And my wife, she'll murder me if she catches me in the sun without sun cream. I've had 4 melanomas cut off. What Dee wanted me to do was to bring some hope and also some solutions. But I can tell you right now, the biggest solutions are going to come from out of the crowd and out of nurses and police and teachers and aged care workers when they go back to work and get together. Stop thinking that politicians know what they're doing. I'm serious. I've worked in Canberra. I've been in the Senate. They're bullshitters. And the key message is for you to grab your own power and your own heart, your own intuition and your own minds and make your own mind up and make your own decision. That is fundamental because you have got everything you need right there in your body and your mind and your heart. So we're all public servants and nurses are heroes, as Dee has reminded us of. And they need us more than you need them. Think of the police protecting us. And I want to thank them for standing up because I'll give you some figures on the police who don't want this jab, this injection. Who's going to protect them from this injection? Who is? We are. Everyone together. Not one nation, not Senate, certainly not the Senate, but we are together, the people. I want to thank the nurses for caring for us. But who's going to care for the nurses? We are, exactly. I want to thank teachers for caring for our children. Who's going to care for the teachers? We are, exactly. I want to thank aged care workers. Who's going to care for the aged care workers? We are. This is the people talking. We opened up our Facebook page a couple of weeks ago when Scott Morrison contradicted himself, broke his promise of just a few weeks earlier and said that he's going to force the injection on people. Aged care workers swamped us. Where's Sheena? Sheena's in our office. She's the office manager. People in our office were crying, listening to people crying for hours. It's totally wrong. It's totally wrong. Brock Holroyd is the truckie who started to organise the truckie protest down to the Gold Coast that Pauline and I attended. He's been banned from Facebook, TikTok, and one of the other ones, I can't remember, Instagram, I think. But overnight, he got 350,000 supporters on his Facebook page that volunteers started for him. 350,000. And listen to these numbers. 2,500 messages from police who do not want injections. 40 messages from doctors with stories of COVID injections, adverse effects, and from adverse effects of the way they're treating COVID patients in hospital. And thousands and thousands and thousands of nurses. Now, each of us is unique. And I don't criticise someone who's taken the injection. But I don't expect them to criticise me either because I'm not going to take it. I expect everyone in Australia to accept each other for our own decisions. There's a nurse up the back. I won't even mention her first name because she's afraid of persecution. Her name starts with V. And V reminded me of something I'd forgotten completely. Every day, nurses are at work reminding people and checking that they have given informed consent. What the hell happened to informed consent for nurses? That is hypocritical, it's dishonest, it's deceitful. We are allowed to be concerned about our health. That truckie I mentioned, Brock, he's got a heart condition as a child. He's also got lung problems as a child. His doctor said, don't get the injection. but they're trying to mandate it for truckies crossing the border. He's terrified of not being able to provide for his family, put food on the table if he gets sick from the injection. He's got $7,000 in truck payments to make every month. A few $100s a week from a government compensation is not going to fix his small business. This is the situation they have put us in. And I say they have put us in. But as Dee mentioned, and as a couple of nurses have told to me, and aged care workers, they would try and pick us off one by one. But who needs the other most? Can the hospitals function without you? No. They need you. Remember that. They need you. So let's get into something that humans are, it's just natural for us. What are feelings that people have? Who's feeling scared? I'm feeling scared. Actually, I'm feeling confident because I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get the needle. Who feels uneasy? Who feels distrustful because the trust has been smashed? Who feels daunted, lost, uncertain, doubtful? It's such a terrible position for any government, any boss to put you in. Who's lost faith in government? Federal and state. Who thinks they've been betrayed? I certainly do. So let's have a look at your needs underpinning all those feelings. Needs that are not being met. Needs for truth. Needs for support. Needs for openness, sharing of data. Need for people to be real, especially people in senior positions in government. A need for leadership. We haven't got a damn leader in this country at the moment on COVID. And I can tell you more on that later on if need be, especially in question and answer. Dee's told me to talk for about 15 minutes. I'm losing track of time. You pull me up when you're ready. I don't mind being pulled up. Who has a need for consistency? A need for freedom? A need for fairness? A need for some direction from the supposed elected leaders? A need for respect? Who wants respect? Who wants choice? Who wants clarity? You know, a few years ago, I had an intimidating boss. I worked for a very large American company. And he asked me a question. I won't go into the details. And the thought flashed through my mind. The answer I give him is going to determine my career. Because he was an intimidator. And he wanted me to answer yes. And I told him where to go. And the whole room, it was done in front of people, the whole room went deathly quiet. But I don't regret that decision. It hurt myself and my wife for quite a while, but I'm much, much better for it. Yeah. What does it mean to be human? Care, doesn't it? Not one of us would be here today if someone didn't care for us for the first 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. Isn't that right? Yep. Humans without care are completely vulnerable, completely lost. Freedom. We wouldn't have the healthcare system we have now if it hadn't been for freedom in developing medical technology and better procedures. Another part of being human is belonging to a group, and also looking after our children. Who here cares for children in hospitals? Yeah. Is there anything more important? All of this is being smashed. There are 3 issues. How long have I got, Dee?
About 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Let's get on to, there are 3 issues. Health, for me, health, freedom, and accountability in government. Mismanagement and parliamentary accountability. They've all been smashed. I'll be happy to answer questions about that in the Q&A. Let's get on to some of the actions and some of the solutions. I don't know what the solutions are. I've got a couple in mind, but I know where they'll come from. Where will the solutions come from? Exactly. And the other thing about humans is we're highly creative. So the first thing I'm going to say to you all is be yourself. If you're feeling pissed off, if you're feeling teary, if you're feeling upset, let it out, because that's what connects with humans. So let your emotions come out. Don't suppress them. Remember that you are worthy, absolutely worthy. We've had so many years being dumbed down in school, being told we're not worthy. They're telling us continually that humans are a blight on the planet. It's all bullshit. We are each worthy, we're each competent, and we're each deserving. First thing you can do is visit your local MP's office, state and federal. Go into their office. If they won't see you, just show your face and let them know you were there. Leave your name. If you can get an appointment with them, go in and tell them what you think. Tell them directly. They're not gods. They're tin pot dictators, most of them. And by the way, a dictatorship is when the people are scared of the government. A democracy is when the government is scared of the people. What are we right now? We are people, but this is a dictatorship because people here are terrified. The next thing, if you can't visit them, telephone them. The personal interactions are extremely important. The next thing, send them a letter, handwritten letter or a typed letter signed on paper by Australia Post. That means a lot to them. If they get a lot of letters, they start taking notice. Email them, but that's very small in effect. Next thing to do is to support each other, get the data, Dee's got the data, and speak out. Discuss freely in the public, at work, in your family, at work, in social clubs, football clubs, schools. Next thing to do is to protest, but abide by the law. They've pretty much stitched that up at the moment because of the directives, but still abide by the law, but protest wherever you can. The next thing is a longer term thing. We've had 40 years and more of buggered up parliament. This wouldn't be happening if we had a strong parliament and a double house system in Queensland. Labor Party abolished the upper house in Queensland in 1922, I think, something like that. So that means you've got a dictatorship if the majority takes over in the lower house. And that's what we've got in Queensland. So vote. There are so many times at elections when we're handing out how to vote cards and people rock up and say, oh, shit, we've got to vote again. Big deal. Half an hour every 4 years. And then on Monday, the same people, after writing cocks and balls or writing something on their ballot paper and not voting properly, they rock up and say, oh, hell, we've got Labor again. Or we've got Liberal again. Why? Because they didn't vote or they just voted for Labor or Liberal. So when you have a Liberal Party and a Labor Party, they're dominating parliaments. They don't hold governments accountable because they're both the same. Do you see that? Liberal politicians in the federal parliament, state politicians in state Labor in the state parliament. For goodness sake, think about who you vote for. Think about the character of the person, the candidate, not the party, the candidate. Think about their policies and think about whether or not they have good values. And focus on your vote. Work out who to give your preferences to. They're your preferences. So you decide. The parties cannot decide preferences. We've got a COVID checklist on our website, on my website. Go and have a look at that. We've also got a letter that you can have from our employer from employees to the employer. What it does is it basically says, Mr. Employer, I will take the vaccine, providing you meet these requirements. And one is for information, one is for the contents of the injection. There are about 6 or 7 different requirements. And one is that you will hold me, you'll indemnify me if I get sick or die. What employer is going to sign that? None. But you can see what the purpose of that letter is. It's been checked by lawyers. If an employee says, I will voluntarily take the injection providing you meet these criteria, they're not going to meet those criteria. So if they sack you, you can say, hey, I'm willing to take it if you give me some basic information. It's called informed consent. Do you see what we're getting at? Put the pressure back on them. That letter is available on my website. Sheena, can you put your hand up, please? Come down to see Sheena. She'll get you copies of the letter if you can't find it. We're also writing in a very strong letter to the Prime Minister. We're getting our facts together. I can answer that more about that in Q&A. I've written to the Prime Minister twice, written to the Premier Palaszczuk twice, asked them for their data. They haven't provided it. But we have got the data out of the Chief Medical Officer, which I'm happy to share. We're also pushing a medicine that has been used for 60 years around the world for treating 3.7 billion doses for various conditions. It's now being successfully used with COVID overseas. See, I haven't mentioned that medicine because if we make a recording of this video and I post it, I'll get taken down. That's the level of censorship. This is the first time in human history, in Australian human history, where governments have knowingly injected something that can kill people into healthy people. It's the first time in human history in Australia that governments have withheld a proven, safe, affordable, effective treatment and withheld it from sick people. It's worked. It's scientifically proven, and now we need to get our country back. So please help us to do that. I'll be hanging around for a little while, but then I'm happy to answer questions and Q&A. But I just want to impress upon you, I don't know the solutions. We all know the solutions, okay? So who knows the solutions?
We do.
Thank you.